Yes, yes, yes. We have Stella back from the Ford dealership. Shout out to them. They did a really good job. I wanted to take you through some of what they did so you can get a firsthand look at how we looked at our P0521 code. So I went ahead and ripped out the airbox and everything. Of course, that's the first thing I want to do, right? And see what they did. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this with you so you can see it for yourself. Please let this be the solution. I've been dealing with this for a long time. I do want to take you through some of the different things that we experienced along this journey and what ended up being the solution. So hang tight. When my Mustang threw up that P0521 code, like most of the stuff that I work with, I go to Google, kind of figure out if I can get to the root of the problem, if it's something that I feel like I can take on personally, or if it's something like I need to take to a professional. Now, in this case, the first thing that I suggest here is to check the engine oil. So we did that several times and we knew it was on point. We knew we had the correct levels in there, so that we put that in check. Then what we did is we said, okay, we're going to check out the oil pressure sensor switch. It's the sensor in this case for the Ford Mustang. We went ahead and took that to Mavis because I don't have a ton of experience in dealing with oil pressure switches. So I wanted to go ahead and take it to a professional. So we took it to them. They replaced that part and then sent it back. It didn't have any codes at that point. I definitely spoke too soon right there. Oh, man, it is back. We have the check engine light, engine oil pressure. Damn, man. Gotta figure this out. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to hone in on showing you exactly where your oil pressure sensor is, how to get to the wiring harness. We're going to go ahead and add a new connector to it because that was not the problem. So we went through the effort of ripping apart the wiring harness of the Mustang. I'll show you how that worked. That ended up not being the solution when the code popped up almost immediately, probably about half a mile down the road. So that was not our problem. So yes, it did end up being an oil pressure sensor. That P0521 code came up again. I took it to Ford and they replaced it with a Ford factory authorized, oil pressure sensor for that particular car. The code's cleared up and we're currently good to go. I'll keep you posted if that changes, but here is how you would basically identify and fix, remove and replace your oil pressure sensor. It's come to my attention that the majority of you that are watching this video aren't even subscribed. What are you doing? There's a lot of great Ford Mustang GT stuff in the hopper. Can't wait to go ahead and share that with you. Like and subscribe. All right, so as we approach the engine from the driver's side, if we dig down here, I've already removed my air filter, air box. Now this guy right up here That guy right up here is your oil pressure sensor. So he's got the insulation on him. And then this one right here, I'm not sure what this one is, but we're gonna go ahead and dig both these out. They're pretty easy to unattach. You can actually see the oil kind of right there too as well. So we're gonna go ahead and dig these out, and we're gonna go ahead and change we're gonna check the wiring and change the female connector on that guy. But that is where your oil pressure sensor is located, is right back under here. You can kind of see it. It's that top one right up here. If I can point it out for you. That right there is your oil pressure sensor, that top one right there. I wanted to give you a close-up of the actual oil pressure sensor, the clip that goes on top. So this little white piece right here is the top of it. So you're gonna see that little ridge right on the top end of that next to the 3 wires. You're gonna switch that up. You're gonna push it up and then work your clip off really easily. It should come off. Sensor, it is that guy right there. And then it's clipped right here. This guy, he fits over the top of this one. Then you have this little guy who is plugged in underneath this spot right here. So if you did want to remove that oil pressure sensor at this point, then all you're going to need is the correct socket. It's really easy to access. You just take a wrench in there and then get it out of there. You're going to need a 15/16 inch, and it's going to be the deep socket because you're going to need that deeper size to get it over the top of the actual sensor itself. In addition, there's this. Now I just removed because there was a wiring harness that went down into there. I went ahead and popped it off after I removed my sensors. Pretty straightforward. There's a little guy right here. He attaches to this bolt right down in there. And then there's this one, and there's a spot under here. You can kind of feel it with your finger. Where are we at? Kind of like right in here. Like right, where'd you go? It's right. Let's go over a couple of things that I wanted to offer you as far as insight in dealing with this whole process. I went ahead and Googled again, the difference between like an OEM part and some of the other things. And they just said about, the consistency and not reading it correctly. And that's exactly what we ran into. So I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and go with an OEM part, or just call up Ford and just say, hey, do you have an oil pressure sensor in this particular case? I think you'll have a much happier experience if you go that route. Now, I do want to go over the actual cost of the repair itself. And basically it ended up being a little under $600. That included the part itself and also the repair for the unfortunate wiring incident. I don't know who did that, but that was what ended up happening, is that they replaced the oil sensor with a OEM or factory part, and then they went ahead and redid all the wiring. I'll show you what that looks like as well. All right, as we approach the car from the driver hand side door, again, let's go ahead and identify our sensor. It is going to be, if I can put my finger, kind of show you that guy right there. So that is our oil pressure sensor. You can see where they have redone all of the wiring right here, and looks very nice and tidy, looks very straightforward. He even was nice enough to put some heat shielding right here on some of the additional wiring. In conclusion, so the Ford dealership was correct, at least at this point, in their diagnosis. The correct part solved our problem. So the steps that I went with the dealership, with the Ford dealership, and this is Jarrett Ford in the greater Tampa area, and the individual I was talking with there, his name is Scott, and admittedly, you know, it's not the friendliest disposition when you walk in there, but like I said, I'm not expecting fireworks and balloons or anything like that. I'm expecting to get my call resolved. So how I would approach it if I was you is I would just say, let's get a correct diagnosis and let's be professional about it. I continued to work with Scott. I originally went in there and said, hey man, I need you to diagnose this. He came back with a P0521 code and recommended changing the oil pressure sensor. I said that we already had that done within the last 2 or 3 weeks. He said he's going to have his technician dig a little deeper. His technician continued to work through the problem. He said he came back and said, listen, this sensor does not look right. And also some of your wiring is not correct. Oops. One thing I'm going to encourage you not to do is to be mean and upset and start yelling at these folks. That is going to take that in a wrong direction. We want to give everybody these shots regardless of their disposition. You can run across anybody in life and they could be literally having a terrible day, right? Their dog could have died, or you know, whatever the case is. So you never know what another individual is going through in this. So I'm willing to give them a pass on the disposition because they got the problem right. That is fine. So shout out to them. Hopefully that'll stick. I'll continue to probably take it back to them because I think their technicians are spot on. I'll continue to probably take that to them if I have a diagnosis that I'm uncertain about or a repair that I am unfamiliar about. So I'll let you know how that goes, but big shout out to them. You know, and I'm also willing to give Mavis a pass as well because they have helped us with many other problems in the past, and just because they get one thing wrong doesn't mean that it is the end of the world. They work with you through certain different things on all of our different cars, but when it comes to an issue like this, it might make more sense to get a Ford sensor. Just go to the Ford dealership and order the sensor itself. Get the correct socket. That part was a little over $100, but the aftermarket parts were half price. I can understand where Mavis would want to go that route, but we went to the Ford dealership. They put in the OEM part, the factory part. Everything has been working fine since then. So keep our fingers crossed, right? That'll solve our problem. I hope this helped you guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. As always, thanks for reaching out.